Imagine you're walking down the street in a wealthy neighborhood. Think Greenwich, Connecticut, or Palo Alto. You see someone stepping out of a Porsche. They're probably a billionaire, or at least a high nine-figure millionaire. What are they wearing? Chances are a plain navy cashmere sweater, generic-looking jeans, comfortable sneakers with no visible logo. They look boring. They look like a suburban dad heading to Home Depot. Now imagine you're in a shopping mall in a middle-class suburb, or scrolling through the Instagram feed of an influencer who rents their lifestyle. You see someone trying really hard to look rich. What are they wearing? A belt with a massive gold buckle that screams the designer's name. A t-shirt with the brand plastered across the chest in neon letters. A handbag covered in monogram print so aggressive it hurts your eyes. Why is there such a massive disconnect? Why do the people who actually have money hide it, while the people who are struggling shout it from the rooftops? This is the paradox of loud luxury versus quiet luxury. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's a game of status signaling where the rules are rigged to keep the poor poor. The luxury industry has convinced millions that wearing a billboard makes you an owner. When in reality, if you can read the brand name from 10 feet away, you're not the owner. You're the employee. You're paying them, often thousands of dollars, to advertise their company on your chest. You're a walking, breathing, unpaid marketing campaign for a conglomerate that laughs all the way to the bank. Think about it. You work hard for your money, you save, you sacrifice. Then you hand it over to a brand so you can wear their name on your body. They get free advertising. You get a receipt. And in 5 years, that receipt is worthless. That's not ownership. That's renting your skin. My name is Max, and this is Max Invests. I've spent years breaking down the psychology of wealth and why we buy things we can't afford to impress people we don't like. This channel is about building real wealth, not the appearance of it. If you've ever felt the pressure to upgrade your wardrobe just to fit in, or you wonder why billionaire style looks so different from everyone else, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Stick around, because today we were going to break down the status game. We'll look at signaling theory, the predatory pricing of entry-level luxury, and why opting out of the logo race is the fastest way to build real net worth. This is one of those topics that sounds like fashion, but is really about finance. We'll talk about the psychology behind why we signal, the real math of what those logos cost you over a lifetime, why billionaires dress like they don't care, and 4 practical steps you can take today to stop playing a game that's designed for you to lose. No fluff, just the truth. Let's get into it. Here's the thing about logos. They're attacks on insecurity. In evolutionary psychology, we signal status to gain allies and mates. Back in tribal days, you signaled status by being the best hunter or having the most feathers. Today, we signal status by purchasing symbols of money, a nice car, a big house, or the clothes we wear. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a split. Old money, or true wealth, signals to other wealthy people through subtle cues. The cut of a suit, the quality of the fabric, the specific obscure watch that only other watch nerds know. No logo, no neon, no billboard. That's quiet luxury. It's a secret language spoken by those in the club. If you know, you know. If you don't, you're not supposed to. The whole point is that most people won't get it. New money or aspirational wealth signals to the masses. They want the whole world to see. They want everyone to know they made it. So they buy the items that are most recognizable, the ones that scream from across the room. The bag with the initials, the shoes with the stripe, the hat with the logo on the front. The brands know this. They study it. That's why they create entry-level products. The t-shirts, the belts, the hats that are covered in logos. These are the highest margin items. They're cheap to make, cotton and canvas, maybe a few dollars in labor. But they sell for hundreds of dollars because they carry the brand premium. The same factory might make a no-name shirt for $5 and a logo shirt for $500. The only difference is the label. They're selling you a ticket to a club that the actual members don't even visit. The same people in Greenwich and Palo Alto we talked about? They're not wearing that stuff. They might own the company that makes it. They might have a closet full of it and still choose the plain sweater. But they're not wearing the logo. You're not buying quality. You're buying a symbol. And that symbol is designed to keep you chasing, while the real players don't need to play at all. They're already in the club. You're paying for a ticket that never gets you in. The door stays closed. Your wallet gets lighter. Let's look at the math of loud luxury. A luxury brand will sell a logo t-shirt for around $500. The cost to make that shirt? Maybe $10 or $15. The markup is close to 5,000%, sometimes even higher on accessories like belts and keychains. Why? Because the customer isn't buying a shirt. They're buying a shield. They're buying armor against the feeling of being less than, against the fear of being overlooked, against the need to prove they belong. People with lower incomes or lower social status feel the highest pressure to signal because they're the most vulnerable to being judged. At the office, at family events, on social media, they're trying to hack the social hierarchy, to look the part before they have the part, to look like they belong before they actually do. But it's a trap. The hierarchy doesn't work that way. By spending $500 on a shirt, they're destroying the capital they could have used to actually climb the hierarchy. To invest in skills, in assets, in equity, they're trading being rich for looking rich, and looking rich keeps you from ever being rich. That $500 invested in the S&P 500 over 30 years becomes roughly $5,000. That t-shirt becomes a rag. Maybe you donate it in 5 years. Maybe it sits in the back of the closet. Either way, it's worth nothing. The opportunity cost of status signaling is the destruction of generational wealth. Imagine doing that 10 times, 20 times. $500 here, $300 there, $1,000 on a bag over a decade. You could have had $50,000 or more in the market, maybe $100,000 if you're consistent. Instead, you have a pile of old logos, clothes that are worth nothing the moment you walk out of the store. Every time you choose the logo over the index fund, you're not just spending money, you're stealing from your future self and from the next generation. The numbers don't lie. Compound growth works in both directions. It works for you when you invest, and it works against you when you spend on things that go to zero. A $500 shirt has 0% return. The S&P 500 has historically returned around 10% per year over time. 30 years of that turns 500 into 5,000. So every time you skip the logo and put that money in the market, you're not just saving, you're buying your future self a small raise. You're choosing the compound path instead of the depreciating path. This brings us to counter-signaling. This is what billionaires do. When Mark Zuckerberg wears a hoodie, or Bill Gates wears a $10 watch, or Steve Jobs wore his turtlenecks, they're counter-signaling. Warren Buffett still drives an old car and lives in the same house for decades. He doesn't need a Rolex. He could buy the company. They're saying, I'm so powerful, I don't need to follow your rules. I don't need to impress you with my clothes because my bank account speaks for itself. It's the ultimate flex. They don't need your approval. They don't need your attention. It basically says my status is intrinsic, not extrinsic. I don't need to prove it. When you wear a logo, you're saying my value comes from this brand. You're outsourcing your worth to Gucci or Louis Vuitton. You're letting them define you. When you wear no logo, you're saying the value comes from me. I don't need a brand to tell you who I am. It's a profound shift in psychology. It requires a level of confidence that money can't buy, but that saving money can build. The more you have in the bank, the less you need on your back. When you have $100,000 in the bank, you don't care if people think you're broke. You can wear a $10 tee and sleep just fine, because you know what's in the bank. You know the truth. The truth is a warm blanket. You don't need a stranger in a mall to validate you. The validation comes from the balance sheet, not from the glance of a stranger. That's real confidence, and it only comes from building, not from buying. We also have to talk about how luxury brands aggressively market loud products to communities that have historically been marginalized. This is uncomfortable, but it's real. The same brands that ignore these communities when it comes to hiring or representation show up when it's time to sell. They sell the dream of inclusion through consumption. If you buy this belt, you've made it. You're one of us. But it's a lie. The club doesn't have open membership. It has open checkout. The belt doesn't give you equity. It doesn't give you power. It doesn't get you into the room where decisions are made. It just gives you a receipt. The brands exploit the desire for dignity by selling it back to people at a massive markup. They're not selling leather, they're selling the feeling of belonging. And that feeling fades the moment you leave the store. Maybe it lasts until the next trend. Then you need to buy again. It's extraction wrapped in a fashion show. The same brands that charge 5,000% for a cotton shirt could offer financial literacy programs. They'd rather sell another bag. It keeps communities from building wealth by siphoning disposable income into depreciating assets instead of appreciating ones, like real estate or stocks. Every dollar that goes to a logo is a dollar that doesn't compound. Real wealth doesn't come from a handbag, it comes from ownership. Stocks, real estate, businesses, things that pay you, things that grow. And ownership starts when you stop paying for someone else's marketing. When you stop being the billboard and start being the one who owns the company that makes the billboard. Let's dig into the brand dilution cycle. Luxury brands have a problem. They're publicly traded. They need to grow. To grow, they need to sell more stuff. Quarter after quarter. But if they sell too much, they lose their exclusivity, the very thing that makes them luxury. So they're stuck. And their solution is clever, so they create a two-tiered system. One for show, one for dough. They have the haute couture line, the stuff on the runway costing $20,000 a dress that almost nobody buys. Maybe a few celebrities, maybe a few billionaires. Almost nobody normal. That's the marketing. It creates the aura. It's the dream they're selling. The fantasy that you could be that person. Then they have the diffusion line. The sunglasses, the perfumes, the logo tees. The stuff you see in every mall, the stuff that actually sells. That's the cash cow. That's where the real revenue is. That's what the middle class buys. That's what pays for the runway show. The rich person buys the $20,000 dress or gets it for free. The aspirational person buys the $500 tee to feel connected to the dress. The brand uses the rich as bait to catch the poor. Celebrities get free clothes. You pay full price. And your payment funds the next celebrity endorsement. You're not buying the lifestyle, you're funding the marketing budget that convinces you to buy the lifestyle. It's a loop. And you're the one spinning it. There's also the hedonic treadmill of fashion. Logos go in and out of style incredibly fast. A brand might be hot this year and cringe next year. Trends move fast. What felt like a flex in 2022 might feel desperate in 2025. If your wardrobe is built on logos, you have to constantly update it to stay relevant. You're on a hamster wheel, and the wheel never stops. Quiet luxury, like a well-fitted wool coat or a solid leather boot, lasts 10 years. You buy it once. Maybe you get it tailored, it lasts. But the status game forces you to rebuy your status every season. New drop, new collab, new must-have. It's a subscription model for your ego. You're never done paying. The brands love that. So, how do we exit the game? How do we stop being walking billboards? It's not about going full minimalist or never buying anything nice. You can still have great clothes, great shoes, a great watch. It's about changing the rules you play by. Choosing quality over branding. Choosing longevity over trend. Choosing assets over accessories. Step 1 is the 10-foot rule. If someone can tell what brand you're wearing from 10 feet away, don't buy it. It's too loud. It's tacky. It marks you as someone who's trying to buy their way in. Who needs the world to see the label? That's the opposite of quiet confidence. Aim for items that look high quality but anonymous. Good fabric, good fit, no label visible. You want people to say that looks nice, not that looks expensive. There's a huge difference. Nice implies taste. Expensive implies spending. You want to signal taste, not spending power. One is earned, the other is bought. Apply this to everything. Bags, shoes, watches, hats. If the brand is the first thing you see, skip it. The best-dressed wealthy people often wear things you can't name. That's the point. Step 2 is to invest in assets over accessories. Before you buy a luxury item, ask yourself, do I have an asset that pays for this? If your dividend income pays for the belt, fine, buy it. You earned it with capital. Your money worked for you. But if your labor pays for the belt, if you're trading hours of your life for a symbol, don't buy it. Make a rule. You can only buy luxury with passive income. No exceptions. That means if you want a nice watch, you need dividend income or rental income or some asset that generates cash flow that can pay for it. Not your salary, not your side hustle. Your assets. This forces you to become an investor first and a consumer second. It aligns the incentives. It makes luxury a reward for financial discipline, not a substitute for it. Your first job is to build the asset. Then the asset can buy the accessory. Not the other way around. Most people do it backwards. They buy the accessory and hope the feeling of success will somehow make them successful. It doesn't work. Step 3 is to audit your insecurity. Who are you trying to impress? Your coworkers? Your ex? Strangers at the mall? The person who rejected you? Realize that nobody cares about you as much as you think they do. This is the spotlight effect. Psychologists have studied this for decades. People consistently overestimate how much others notice them. You think everyone is looking at your shoes. They aren't. They're worrying about their own shoes. They're worrying about their own debt. You're spending money you don't have to impress people who aren't looking. Once you realize this, the pressure evaporates. You can wear what's comfortable. You can wear what's durable. You can opt out of the race entirely. And here's the thing, most people are so focused on themselves, they barely notice you. Once that clicks, a lot of the pressure just disappears. Step 4 is to realize the status game is a multiplayer game where everyone loses except the house. The brands, they design the game. They set the prices. They create the desire. They make you feel like you need what they're selling. And they win every time someone swipes a card. If you stop playing, you keep your chips, you break the cycle, you keep your money. You start building instead of buying. You compound and while everyone else is chasing the next trend, and eventually you become the person in the plain t-shirt who owns the building, looking at the people in logo shirts who are paying you rent, who are paying your mortgage, who are funding your dividends. That's the ultimate status. Not the status of looking rich. The status of ownership. The status of freedom. The status of not needing anyone's approval to feel worth something. That's when you've really made it. If this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the bell. Drop a comment below and tell me if you've ever felt the pressure to keep up with logos. What was the moment you realized you were playing the wrong game? I read everything. So here's your challenge. This week or this month, go to your closet. Find the item with the biggest logo, the one that screams the brand, the one you bought to impress someone. Put it on eBay or Poshmark. Sell it. Get whatever you can. Take that money and put it into a brokerage account. Don't touch it. Buy a share of the company that made the item if they're public, or buy the S&P 500. 1 share. 5 shares. Whatever you got. Let it sit for 30 years. Swap the symbol of wealth for the actual wealth. Now, you're not wearing the logo. You own a piece of the company. Every time someone buys their stuff, you win a little. You're not the billboard. You're the landlord. Become the owner, not the billboard. That's the mindset shift. And it's a shift that pays dividends. Literally. Rich isn't what you wear. Rich is what you own. Rich is having your money work for you instead of working for a logo. The goal isn't to look poor. The goal is to be secure enough that you don't need to look rich. To have so much going on in your balance sheet that your outfit doesn't have to do any of the work. If this video made you look at your closet differently, drop a comment below. Tell me the most ridiculous logo item you've seen people wearing. Let's have some fun with it. And if you found this useful, subscribe to Max Invest and hit the like button. More videos on building real wealth without the performative spending. We do this every week. Next video might be on investing or saving or mindset. Same goal, real wealth. No logos required. Let's stop paying to advertise for billionaires. We've covered a lot today. The paradox of who shows off and who doesn't. Why the richest people often dress like they don't care. The psychology of signaling. Old money versus new money. The math that makes logo spending so destructive for your future. The $500 shirt that could have been $5,000 in the market, and 4 steps to exit the game. The 10-foot rule. Assets before accessories. Audit your insecurity. And remember, the house always wins. So stop playing their game, start playing yours. It all comes down to one idea. Build real wealth first. Let the symbols come later, if at all. When you have real security, the need to show off goes down. You stop needing to prove anything. When your net worth is growing, when your assets are working for you, you won't need a logo to tell the world you're winning. The numbers will do that for you. Your peace of mind will do that. Your freedom will do that. You'll know, and that's enough. That's the whole point of real wealth. You don't need to perform for anyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.